So recently I had to get some blood drawn for a test, and the lady doing it, she was a white woman. I'm gonna guess late 50s, early 60s. So anyway, I had my hair out, and she looked at me and she was like, "Oh, I love your hair." And it's okay. Didn't expect the conversation to be anything more than what they normally say. And then she looks at me and she says, "I wish more black women would wear their hair natural." And without hesitation I said, "Well, there's a lot of deep-seated what did I say? Deep-seated I don't know if I told her sadness or deep-seated shame. I think I said more belongs a deep-seated, the deep-seated reason why black women haven't worn their hair natural. And maybe, perhaps, by the way I looked at her when I said it, because in the back of my mind I'm thinking, now this woman is old enough to have been around during segregation, and it just hit me that, it was one of those comments, as if you don't know why things are the way they are. And I didn't take it negatively, but I don't have much of a poker face. Generally, my feelings show through even when I'm, not trying to express it. So maybe it was, I don't know, the way I was looking at her when I said it. So anyway, after I said, there are deep-seated reasons why we do what we do with our hair. And she continued with, well, I just think it looks so much better than doing all the fake weave and, stuff like that. And I thought, didn't she just hear me? I said, well, and it just fell out of my face. I said, well, history has not really allowed us to be who we are without a whole lot of negativity. So, there are reasons why why the majority of us look the way we do, why we do the things we do to ourselves. I said, when all in your family history is that you're just trying to exist in this society and be seen as a human being, and not be judged by the way you looked, I said, that it's more than just a fashion statement. And as I'm telling her this, her face is just becoming more and more melancholy. And, I wasn't expecting that, but I could see the sadness and the regret coming over her face. It was the first time I'd ever had an extended conversation with someone like that, and then I saw the tears well up, and I thought, oh goodness. I wasn't harsh, I was just being real. I figured, well, if you're just going to keep pretending like you don't know why, let me remind you. So anyway, she put her hand on my knee, because I was sitting ready to get my blood drawn, and she said, "I am so sorry." And I thought, wow. And it was completely heartfelt and real. At that moment, I knew she heard me, and I knew her brain had no choice but to go back to those times that I knew she remembered. And she said, when I was growing up, I remember, as a kid, you see black and white, but you don't really get the undertone. And she told me a story about how when she was little, she was at her grandparents' farm, I think, somewhere in Florida, mid-Florida somewhere. But anyway, and she was playing on the porch, and a black man came up and asked for a drink of water. And so she happily went in the house and gave it to him. Well, before he could finish, her grandmother came outside and told her basically to get that in off my porch, or get that in off my property and get my glass back. So she said the man handed back the glass to her and walked away. And when she turned to look at her grandmother before she could say anything or ask any questions, she snatched the glass out of her hand, threw it on the ground, smashing it, and smacked her across the face and said, "Don't you ever something with another N again." And so, I just looked at her and I said, "So then you get it, it's not like we just decided to abandon who we are or what we look like. We've been pretty much forced into it, just trying to find a way to be normal, just to be seen as a human being that just happens to be of another race, without being ostracized simply by the way you look, which is something you can't change. But the one thing you can do is change your hair. So with that, I just reached out and touched her hand. I said, "You know what? That's history." I said, and all we can do now is be grateful that things are coming. They're changing. It looks a little different, but we still have ways to go. I said, but thank you for the story and for the understanding and you hearing the realness of the situation, because that's really all we need. And so change the subject. But anyway, I wanted to tell you that story because the last AfroHair Live discussion that I had and wanted to have with more people was on that subject, is why how history has determined what we have done and continue to do to our hair. And while we still have those deep-seated feelings of almost angst when it comes to wearing our natural hair out, and while we get so much backlash from our own, it's really kind of a learned fear more than anything, even though it may be expressed in another way. So yeah, and actually it was maybe a week after I had that live discussion. So it was very apropos. But anyway, so now when she sees me, she kind of looks at me a little differently than she did the first time I met her. But first time it was just kind of, I don't want to say it wasn't a real hi, how you doing? But it was kind of, I think, glossed over for her because she was doing it not from a place of how do I say this? From a place of not acknowledging that there was a time when she wouldn't have been able to do that, if that makes any sense. So anyway, yeah. It's the first time I ever had a conversation like that on that level with another white person, and I definitely have never had that conversation and had them come to tears over it. But what that told me was that, society is slowly changing, and the more we own who we are and take that brave step of coming out of the closet, so to speak, about our hair, and with each other, and even if you're not ready, encouraging someone else who is learning their hair and trying to be proud of it and okay with it will go a long way. And as more and more of us are seen out normal, acting normal, not being too much, you know, to bring flashbacks to them, not necessarily for us, because, you know, they can see it sometimes as being a flashback to the 70s, which for them, you know, was a negative thing because we were uprising, whatever. I'm not even going to get into that, but yeah. So I just wanted to share that.